Good morning, students. This video will go along with today's lesson. This is the last lesson in our rhetoric unit, which means your essay, last time we'll be spending working on the essay, you need to follow all of the guidelines that I have in this PowerPoint and that I will discuss on this video to get an A quality paper. As you look at slide number 2, you can see that, of course, we have our last academic notes section, and we will be turning those in at the beginning of class on Monday when we return from fall break, since I actually will not be in class for today's lesson. So our lesson, that your topic in your style notes is going to deal with style and what we look at in style. This slide defines that word by a lot of famous writers. You can pause the video and look at them. A website that I will use quite extensively in English 2010 is called Style Academy. It's put together by BYU, and for your academic notes today, I just want to give you guys some background to this so you can use it as a resource for the rest of the semester if you want to. And so you'll be taking notes on it. So you'll notice on this slide there are 2 links. The first link takes you to the Style Academy slide. In your academic notes, I want you to read over the contents of that home page and write down 5 things that you learn about the word style from that website homepage. The second one is to take you to an actual lesson on Style Academy. This one deals with imitation, and it's going to, the narrator, it's a video that you will watch, and the narrator will share some work by Annie Dillard in the video as you listen to him discuss this concept of imitation and how it improves our style. And then specifically some tasks that he asks you to do with Annie Dillard's work. Would you record 5 things that you learn about imitating Annie Dillard's style, also in your academic notes for today. I think that means at the end, I think now you should have 10 days of academic notes. Remember, they will all be stapled and turned into our class on Monday when we return from fall break. So now we're going to get into a part of class where we're going to respond to your writing. We're doing this in 2 ways. First, you're responding to your own writing, and then you will be responding to others and getting feedback from others. So since we've just talked about style, there are 4 things that I want you to look at in your draft. These deal with types of sentences that become clingy and just don't sound right when we write them. And a famous writing guru, Peter Elbow, says that if you read aloud your work, it will solve a lot of the problems with sentence style. So these are 4 types of sentences that I want you to look for, and the next few slides will go into them in a lot more detail. So the first one is a long sentence. Pause the video, read it, and then pause the video again and look in your own draft for long-winded language that you have. The next one is bureaucratic prose. I have to say this is one of my weaknesses. I have to think about this concept a lot of times when I write papers. So read your paper aloud, look at the ideas behind bureaucratic prose, and get rid of that type of writing or style in your writing. The next one is clang or repetition. Read what is said here and then go back to your draft and get rid of those types of stylistic errors in your draft. And then the last one is interruptions that impede understanding and flow. This one's so important to quality writing that if you don't focus on this, your readers get lost. So read the concept here, then go back to your own draft and look at it. Finally, there are 3 big words that I always look for when I am addressing style: clarity, cohesion, and emphasis. Each of these concepts are discussed with, or I discuss them here with 2 sentences. I also, in the teacher's notes on this slide, have a resource booklet that gets into a whole bunch of other stylistic ways to improve your sentences. It's in the bottom of the teacher's notes if you want to spend more time, if you feel like that's one of the major flaws of your essay. One last thing on style for you to look at. If you feel like your writing isn't coherent, doesn't flow correctly, it can be fixed. A simple way, it doesn't solve all ills, but a simple way of fixing some of the coherency in your essay is to rely on transitional words and phrases. So depending on what the concept of the sentence is that you're looking at, this slide is a great tool and great resource for a bunch of types of transitions that you can incorporate. So spend time on your essay focusing on the style. The next thing that I would like you to do is look at your conclusion. We haven't talked a lot about it, but you have samples in your resource booklet, as well as options here on this slide to use as ideas for your conclusion. Look at what you've done. Look at some of these other possibilities. And remember, a teacher always grades a conclusion and then goes straight to the rubric. So it's always good to end on a high note rather than a fizzled out paper. So think about what option you have used and decide if that is the best way to end your draft. And then the last thing that I want you to do is it's Thursday, and just know that you have 10 days between today and the time you are coming back from a 95% A paper, hopefully. So I don't want to tell you you have to work on your essay during the break, but if you conscientiously just here and there come up with a plan of things that needs to happen and be an honest critic of your own work, you've got lots of time that you can decide what works for your schedule. So come up with that revision plan. And as you do so, look at this slide. You want to pay attention to the rubric. And these are some self-questions you can ask yourself about what needs to happen. These are some things that I look for in this academic paper that you're writing. So that's all of the, one other thing. This was a great one. So these are some, what I've noticed over the years of what gets in the way of students having an ASA. So read through those and then look at your own draft and see if there are some things you can fix by just following some of these bold-faced phrases that I have on this slide. So in class, we will be spending, or the students will be spending about 45 minutes working on all of the concepts we've talked about this far. Then, as you are, then we are moving into having other people look at your draft. And this is the last thing I'm doing before I head home today is putting you into small groups. So these 3 slides, depending on your class period, will be updated shortly and you'll be able to find your name. And if you are not in class, maybe you can reach out to some of the people in your group and say, hey, I'd be willing to look at your paper if you would look at mine. Also, as you are looking at other students' work, here's some, if you're thinking, where do I go? There's 2 great ways to do it. Well, this first one, this is divided into the sections of the rubric. So what I'm asking the students to do in small groups is to divide and conquer some of these concepts so that every person in every group isn't looking for the same thing. So divide and conquer these elements of writing, content, and style, and mechanics. Again, then look over these types of questions and then help your fellow classmates. Just remember the final draft is due on Wednesday, October 27th, and it will be printed at the beginning of class. If you are not in class, I expect you to upload it into Unicheck by the time your class begins. So on that day, but we'll talk more about that when we return from fall break. And remember, any student who does not follow this schedule will not be able to get higher than 50% on this paper. All right, so there's today's lesson. Work hard on your draft. Remember, the difference between a C paper and an A paper is the quality or amount of time you spend once you have a really good draft in place. So now is the time to not say that you're done. It's the time to begin working. And have a great fall break. We'll see you on Monday, the 23rd.